I'm Roger with Roger's Outdoor Channel. Today I'd like to explore the thought process that you should go through if you decide that you want to go camping in either a camper, motorhome or a camper van. We went through that process several years ago. Uh, we ultimately we wound up purchasing a 2001 Eurovan camper, and we wanted to see America, and we drove it for 17 years. We drove back roads through all 48 lower states. Just had a wonderful time with it. And what I would like to do is kind of give you some of the basic thought processes that you need to do to go through and pick out the vehicle that is best for you. Just getting out and driving back roads and seeing our country is just a wonderful experience. If I had it to do all over again, I'd do it all over again, and I want to encourage you to do the same thing. So, some of the things that we had to think of is, we looked through a variety of price ranges. I mean, we looked at units that, where you could put tow something behind your regular automobile, trailers that collapsed and that you could pop up at a tent site, small trailers that you could tow around the country. We looked at motorhomes. We looked at larger units to drive around and smaller units to drive around. And the questions that we had, we put together a questionnaire that, what's important to us? How are we going to use our vehicle? That's the most important question you can ask yourself. Are you going to use it once a year for a vacation? Are you going to use it, drive it to the grocery store from time to time? Are you going to just park it in a lot somewhere until you vacation? Those are some of the thoughts that you need to know, and will determine how much money you want to spend and how big a unit. So, we wondered, should it have a stove, a refrigerator, air conditioner, shower, toilet? Can we move around in the vehicle? Can we stand up and walk around? Does it have like an awning that you can kind of, when you settle in at a campsite, put out an awning if it's raining or too sunny or something? Our unit had a lot of that stuff, and it worked well for us. But probably one of the major things that it really worked was it was easy for us to drive. Just like driving a car, and you could park it in a regular parking stall. A metered stall in during the city. You could, it got 20 miles to the gallon. We talked to other people that says, hey, we only drove 40 miles with our thing because that's all we could afford, and we rented stayed in an RV place for a week. That was our vacation because we didn't want to drive much further at 8 miles to the gallon. The thoughts that you have. You need to look at a lot of vehicles. So going to an RV show, they usually have, just like sports, boat shows and sporting shows. They've got RV shows all around the country where you can look at all sizes and models, shapes of models, and the thought of how you're going, once you say something that, okay, I like that, how am I going to use it? If you get a big unit, sometimes you can't park it at home. You might have covenants in your particular area that say, you got to go rent a stall somewhere, and how much is that going to cost you, and how far do you have to drive to get there, and what's the security of the place if you spent a bunch of money purchasing your unit. Those are just all basic questions. If you decide to buy a used unit, what kind of maintenance records do they have? What's a fair cost for that unit? when we bought our 2001 Eurovan, it had 15,000 miles on it, and in good condition. Had one little dent in it. And we drove it. When we sold it, we bought it for 15,000. We sold it 17 years later for $23,000. It had 192,000 miles on it. It was still in good shape. We kept good, had regular maintenance, and it was good shape. If we had that same vehicle today with that mileage on it, it would now cost about $37,000. It's they don't make them anymore, and they don't. Most vehicles just don't get that kind of good gas mileage. We found while we're using the vehicle that we really didn't use the air conditioning. It had once you popped up the top and opened up the screens, etc., had a little fan in there. We stayed plenty cool on the thing. We didn't cook all that often inside of our unit. We preferred going out and building a little campfire and cooking that way most of the time. A lot of times too, we felt that rather than pay to rent a stall with at a RV center that was fully serviced, plug-in electricity and water kind of thing. Well, we really didn't need that most of the time. We could get just a bag of ice and keep our refrigerator, whatever goods that we needed to refrigerate if we were just kind of eating sandwiches on the road or something, to just make it through just fine. We could maybe, if we had a really primitive site, we'd maybe use lanterns or flashlights or something to play our card games at night or something like that. But those were the fun play. A lot of times your primitive sites at an RV park, those are the ones that have a bigger lot. They're further away. They're at the lake where they couldn't afford to run the sewer plant, and power down to the site, sort of thing. And you just have more room. Do you feel like you're in a more remote location and enjoy the scenery a little bit more? The experience that, when you think of how much it costs to own a unit, if you're only going to use your vehicle once a year for maybe a week vacation or 2-week vacation or something, you may well consider just renting it. As an example, the unit that we have, the exact unit, we sold it to a dealer that rents them out. He rents them for a minimum of 1 week at $195 a night. But on the other hand, if you're only going out once every year or so, that could be a good deal. You don't have to pay insurance, you don't have to pay maintenance, you don't have to, pay to store your vehicle somewhere. All of those costs, renting sometimes makes sense. So, but the key thing is, that experience of going around the country, going on back roads, pulling in and talking to fellow campers and say, hey, where are you going, and where you been, and sharing a hot dog or a hamburger with them, and you really kind of feel part of the country a little bit, and that back road scenery is just it's something you can't match. I mean, just there are nights, we're staying at one campground. I remember it was raining and we could hear elk bugling in the distance, and they kept getting closer and closer, and pretty soon they're just bugling right outside our door, in this campground kind of thing. And it was just so exciting, and that's the kind of experiences that you get, driving around the country and seeing all this stuff. Just go to all the national parks, and a lot of times rooms rent out. The motels are all full, and even though it might be cheaper, a lot of times, sometimes you just can't get them. I mean, we've been in areas like at some of the national parks where you couldn't get a motel room within 40 miles. So think about it. The experience of driving around, getting to know your country, it's just wow, what a lot of fun. If I had it to do over again, I would do it all over again. I just loved it, and I hope that, that you will too, that you'll give it a try, and, remember all those questions to ask. Again, remember, I have a written little summary page that puts a lot of these questions to ask. All you have to do is download it and print it, and before you go buy your vehicle. But first of all, think of how you're going to use it, but above all, use it. It's fun.